all diseases, no matter what disease, are emotional. And they all start on inflamed bodies, bodies that are acidic. Acid that we create ourselves through stress, eating in a hurry, eating the wrong things.
Welcome to the show. Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power. Hello there and welcome to this episode of Your Ultimate Life, the podcast that I created to help every person understand they can create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy by serving with your life experience and your gifts and talents. I have a special guest today, Georges Cordoba. Georges, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. Yes, thank you.
You're certainly welcome. And we had a chance to talk just a little bit before we started recording, and I kept stopping you because I want to get all that stuff on the on the recording here and on the episode. One of the things you told me right when we started is that beautiful mountain behind you, even though I know you're using a backdrop, but that is the actual view out of your back or your front, I don't know, front or back window.
Backyard.
Is that true? Backyard.
Yes. That's
How
called
gorgeous.
the Organ Mountains. If you see that, it looks like the pipes of organs. That's what they call it, like that.
Oh, the Organ Mountains. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I play the organ for our church every Sunday.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Well, really good. So, Georges, I'm going to ask you, and it will lead us into all the stories we want. But the first thing I want to ask you is, it's really important to me, for our guests, for our listeners, and for me, to know the answer to this question. So I want you to, without being either diplomatic or modest, tell me how Georges adds good to the world.
Well, I really, as a Christian, I always believe in serving others. It's one of the things our Lord taught us, love and service. And since I was a little kid, I grew up playing tennis. I actually tried to play pro. Also piano, by the way. I ended up playing at my church piano for a few years. But as a youngster, I remember being 9, 10 years old. And at the club that we were being trained and taught tennis, my dad played Davis Cup. And so that's how I started. But they did have ball boys that were coming from favelas, from poor areas. And they would give them a new uniform, and they would be like ball boys for the adults and us kids. So we used to get some money to spend at the club during the day, and I would, for example, convince my friends that our change, we would go to where these kids were gathered at a certain corner at the club and give them that change for them to have. So it started like that. Then in high school, I would go to missionary work, in places like I'm actually originated from Venezuela. Our parents from Greece and Spain, they met there. But we did some missionary work, and basically all of it was in the border between Venezuela and Colombia, helping tribes from both sides of the aisle. And I always found like I was born for that. It was natural. And obviously when you serve others, and you know this better probably than anybody, you feel that you were the one that was served. It was like, what happened here? I was helping this person. And later on, when I was sick, I also joined the American Cancer Society, and I was a volunteer in Miami, Florida, that actually recruited. We went to 300 volunteers to take people that were going to cancer to the treatments, because sometimes life keeps going, they don't have a right to get to a hospital, or the social services, the bosses, they will be there like 3 hours before they get to the hospital and then get their treatments. So stuff like that. Then we worked in hospice places, and one of my biggest ministries was take the kids to downtown with several brothers and sisters in vans and feed the homeless in downtown. And it was just, that's really what started. And then, so that's George's. It's interesting you asked that because I've been coached to change my brand and speaking. And one of the exercises is to reach 10 of my best friends and ask them for a few paragraphs about me. What do they see in me? Just being honest and everything. The word compassionate, competitive, and kind. It was all over the place. And so that's me. I and it had to be a really a scary situation for me with 5 young children that changed my life. And I see it now when I look back, Kellan, I see it as a blessing because surviving, okay, it's like God gave me the chance to sing the song I was born to sing, which is helping people. In this case, is helping people prevent disease. We are the sickest nation in the first world countries. 66% of our nation has 1 to 3 chronic diseases right now. 1 of 2 men will have cancer in their lifetime, and 1 of 3 women will have cancer in their lifetime. This is outrageous, and nobody's doing anything. 146 million U.S. adults are obese. And if we don't change any of these trends, by 2030, around the corner, half of the U.S. will be obese. And this is just unheard of. And so, I made a decision at the age of 57. I was a CTO at the time, but through my battle with cancer, I had to really transition out, bring another CTO, and I arranged to work from home as a consultant for 18 months. But my disease went 10 years. And so I can share on that. I don't know if you have any more questions, but that's George's.
So let's I want to dig into that a little bit, and then I want to go into your battle with cancer, because a lot of times people get an illness, whether it's cancer, which is, the big C, or some other serious illness, and they get mad, they shrivel up, they sort of wither away, as opposed to use it as an opportunity for growth and service. So we'll get back to that in a minute. What I heard is you started when you were really young, and you had this urge from wherever to go be kind, to be of service to the other kids, to the ball boys, and wherever. And you listened to it, and you did that. You followed that urge. And it's interesting because I always end up believing that we were built to love and serve each other. We're happiest when we do that. We feel rewarded when we do that. Physically, our neurotransmitters operate, and there's got to be some spiritual equivalent of those neurotransmitters too, right? And I don't know what they are, but it feels good there too.
Yeah.
And so how did that happen? So many people grow up in the same town or the same, city, and they develop a "what's in it for me" attitude. What do you think was different for you that made you more aware, more sensitive, more willing to begin, even at a young age, to see how you could make other people's lives brighter? Like, what's the difference?
In my case, I attribute it to 2 things. One, I was born with this. Like you said, everybody's born with this talent. This is a talent. It's God-given, a universal law. I call it a divine law, that we're born to service, to help others. But I also saw this movie on Jesus. It was actually a car theater. You go with a car. I went with my
drive-in,
parents.
Drive-in theater.
Drive-in.
Yeah, when I was a kid too, right?
And so I'm watching this. It was in English. Spanish is my first language. But I will see the subtitles. I don't know, maybe I was 10 years old. And all I could see is this man just helping people, you're doing, giving some great messages in parables, and help the hungry, help the sick, help the one without clothing, and that struck me. That it was like, doesn't everybody do that? And I probably asked my parents. I don't recall, but they probably said, no, it doesn't work that way. It's just like you said, we go on our way. And more so today, in the last, let's say, 20 years, because we're in a very noisy society worldwide, but here in the States particularly, and we don't give ourselves time. We don't give ourselves time to really embrace this beautiful planet, this blessings that we have daily in front of us, and we don't realize it because we're in a hurry. And or you don't have time for yourself in the morning or in the evening to take some time for you. Nobody's putting a gun in your head to say, hey, do it this way. Give time for yourself, because it's not renewable, my friends. One day we're gonna leave this place, and with our volunteer, my wife is really, my caregiver, my best friend, my better half, but. We always, when we went to do some work with Kindred Hospice, which is a nationwide program, the common denominator, Keelan, was if I had some additional time, I would do the things I always put for later. And now I'm facing my departure, and I might go out with a regret because you didn't get to do all that stuff. So, and that brings to another thing, but it's really, we don't really face mortality until we're close to it. An accident, or a cancer, or hepatitis, or heart disease, or heart attack. And so, yeah, I believe that it was that movie, and also that for some reason, I had that in me. I was like the type of toddler that I would go and share something. It changed a little bit when I started to be competitive in tennis, because you become a little bit of a self-centered person. In tennis, you either win or you get your butt kicked.
Right,
there's no tie, or the team won, the team lost. You win or you got your butt kicked. So at that time, I started to develop some competitive aptitudes in me. And which I think he helped me through my 10-year battle with cancer.
So I'd like to talk a little bit more about that. I love the story, and thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing, because at the end of the day, it's a choice that we make. Like, you saw the movie and it impressed you, and you were born with a good feeling and the desire to do that. And all of us are born with different gifts and talents. But you know what? Maybe because of the noisy world, maybe because we have other bad examples or hardships or something, we allow that to be beat down. We allow that inclination to get buried or get shouted over, right? So we ignore that feeling and we get to what's in it for me. Tell me a little bit about your competitive tennis career, because, to get to where you're competitive at any level, like, you don't fall up that mountain. So it takes some, it's like the mountain behind you, Oregon pipe. You don't fall up that mountain either, right? So tell me a little bit about what it took, the kind of commitment and dedication to excel at tennis, even though you didn't make it quite as far as you thought you might.
Yeah, great question. Yes, I started very young. I would go and see my dad work out. Maybe I was 4 years old, and especially on Sundays, I would go see him play singles and doubles. They spent half of Sunday playing tennis, and I was always in my little racket waiting for my dad to have some time at the end to throw balls to me. I saw him playing tournaments and the crowds and all that, and I kind of liked the whole ambience of so just like a few other kids that grew up in this club in Caracas, Venezuela, we developed this kind of like this fever. We were really interested on being tennis players, and at that time we had the blessing that part of the world tour would go through Caracas.
Before
the situation in Venezuela the last 25 years, Caracas was when Venezuela was one of the jewels of the world, really.
Yeah,
And
wealthy
so,
right.
yeah. And so a lot of the best players of the 70s and late 60s and early and late, up to late 70s, we were invited as kids to be ball boys for this pros. And so
Wow.
it was like, and so then you watch and you learn, and then we go and hit the wall and this. And little by little, we started playing tournaments. In my case, I started playing tournaments at 10. You play as a junior 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. But the way it works, you can actually play the upper age, even though you're 12. So I was playing 12, and then I was playing kids that were 14, and that's a big difference in those ages. But that taught me to really learn how to, even my best friend, if I'm facing him in a tournament, and even we spend the night together in one of our homes. Hey, can I stay with Thomas? Yeah. And the next day we were playing against each other, the quarterfinals of, say, the national 12th tournament. So I grew up competing, and then I got into surfing as well. There was some politics, like even in the National Tennis Federation at that time, and I just felt that they didn't want me to succeed. So at one point at 16, I told my dad, I'm going to stop for a while. I'm going to pick up something else. So I started skateboarding in empty pools, surfing, and that it was a year. And then I saw some of my best buddies getting scholarships here in the U.S. to play NCAA Division I. So I made it a point to get back and work my butt off to come to a tournament that it's key in Miami, Florida, the Orange Bowl, right when the Orange Bowl is the same time of the year in December.
Uh-huh.
And that's where all coaches go. And so I was recruited along with two other kids to come to New Mexico State. And then you have to keep up. We were full ride scholarship, but you have to keep up being in the top 6 of the team and having better than C+ at that time, C+ average. Obviously, all the kids were doing like something very easy, but I started engineering and my other two friends too. And so that's what kind of like ignited everything. And then when we finished, we started to go on these pro-ams where it was in very affluent country clubs around Texas, even southern Mexico, Phoenix, and California, in San Diego, up in Fresno State area over there. And so the owners, the members of the club will get like this little thing like the horse races and say, oh, Georges Cordoba went to this, my record. And so then they go and they do some bidding. They start bidding on the player because we're going to play with a member of the club. That proved to be very great. It was great because they housed us and stuff. And at one point, my doubles partner, since we were freshmen and we went all the way to seniors and we were in the top 20 in doubles and for NCAA, he says, why don't we just try it? Let's go play some satellites. We started in the US and then we go down to Mexico, and we did it. It was tough because we didn't have rankings, so we had to play the qualifiers. So it was really drooling to get. Then finally I made it to the main draw, and you could in many cases lose in the first round. But I was progressing very well. I ended up winning the National Tournament Open in Venezuela, which all the South Americans win, and several Americans. I wasn't seeded even, and that was in 1983, right?
Wow, not seeded and you win. That's quite a thing.
Yeah, that was, and so that was really something that really helped me, because when I was in the national team, junior national team, they hired a Yugoslavian Olympian to help us with our mental rehearsing, kind of like visualize yourself winning the match. Even if you're down 2 sets, 1 set and the second set down 5-1, visualize coming back and winning. And I use that, a lot of that when I got sick. But there's a lot more into that, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but I would love to share.
I want to hear about that. So let's go from the reason I wanted you to talk about the tennis is because of all the work that it takes to get to any platform like that of any height. You have to do all that work. So I know you had a long career in tech, and then in that process, and you got yourself up, you said, to CTO in one of the companies, so two of them, I think you said. Mm-hmm. So you then had and that's all seems good. You had 5 kids and it's all wonderful. And then you got this diagnosis with cancer. Tell me about what that did, how you felt about it, and how did that mind work and determination that you'd previously developed, how did that play into that?
Great question. And I have to share real quick. I have a best-selling book. I wrote a book about my experience, and it made bestseller.
I want to know. So tell me all about it.
It made bestseller on day one.
Oh, wow.
It was January 21st, right in the midst of COVID. I launched it first in English. Mm-hmm. And then on St. George's Day, which is April 23rd of the same year, I launched it in Spanish. It also made bestseller in the first day, but almost at midnight, I received the congratulations email by Amazon. And it really has been an amazing tool, not only to give me authority, more so for people to read it. And the common denominator is, oh man, I'm reading and I'm feeling that I have a friend by me. I'm going through this cancer, or I'm the caregiver for my wife. And I talk a lot about that because I really appreciate my wife. We will go late. We will go to bed and start praying, and I will fall asleep. And later on, maybe closer to midnight, she was still praying. And so with 5 kids to take care of. And at one point I had to stop working. So, but yeah, it was, as I told you earlier, I grew up, I'm half Greek, and from my Greek side of the family, I was 4 and I lost my grandfather of colon cancer. Mm-hmm. Then between 4 and 10, my grandmother, my Greek grandmother, lost 2 of her sisters. There were 5 of cancer. Then my godfather, which was my mother's cousin, they also migrated to Venezuela from Greece after World War II. He died of cancer. And then my uncle, my mother's brother, died of cancer, different types of cancer. But I grew up fearing the disease. And ultimately, the last one to go was my mother, and also from cancer.
Wow.
And I always thought, I feared it. The secret, what you don't want, sometimes it comes to you. And 3 weeks after her passing, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer, malignant melanoma. And it was already ulcerated.
My wife's father died of malignant melanoma. So I wasn't there then, but anyway, keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very aggressive and unpredictable as well. So I couldn't believe it. We were at the pool at home, and like I say, I was always in the sun, surfing, tennis, water skiing, snorkeling, soccer, and I started to itch, and I used to have longer hair, and it bled. So I called my wife and I said, "Look, I think I have a pimple here. I don't know what was going on." And she looked at it, and she's in the medical field. And she goes, "I don't like this, Georges. It was Sunday. I'm going to call the kids' dermatologist tomorrow. And if you get a chance to have a copy of my book, it's also in audio."
Tell me what it is. So tell us what the name is, and we'll do it again later. What's the name of the book?
Yes. The book is called Beating the Odds, My Journey Through Holistic Health to Overcome Advanced Cancer.
Beating the odds. All right. We'll talk more about that later. But anyway, yes. She called the dermatologist and...
Yeah, she called and explained what was going on. This was her assistant. And she says, look, she cannot see him for at least 4 weeks. So she said, look, I don't like what he has. It looks like his melanoma. So can you put them on the waiting list? And if somebody cancels, let me know. And I'm a person of faith. It happened. The next day on Tuesday, the lady called my wife and said, look, we have a cancellation for tomorrow, Wednesday. It's at 8:00. We'll take it. So we were there. And everything there started a chain reaction. When she started looking at me, she goes, do you mind if we bring the resident doctors that are here today? That really scared me. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is not good. So she started talking about the shape of the stuff. It was in the top of my skull. And I thought, oh man, this is not good. So they left. She did a biopsy, and that was Wednesday. On Thursday morning, I'm waiting in my office. I had the door open. Obviously, I'm a CTO there. My assistant says, hey, Dr. Travers is on the line. He wants to talk to you urgently. Man, I froze. I just said, oh, no. All I could do really was thinking of my kids and my wife and my mother, that I couldn't mourn her. It's 3 weeks before that, my diagnosis. So she gets on the phone and she goes, Mr. Cordoba, I have bad news. You have been diagnosed with malignant melanoma, and it's ulcerated. I am faxing you. It was 2002. I'm faxing you the report with the best 2 doctors, dermatologists, oncologists, that you need to talk to immediately, because this disease is very aggressive. Man, when we hanged up, the whole thing started in me. It was like a roller coaster of emotions. No, man, this was a mistake. I need another biopsy. Why me? What's going to happen to my kids? And all this stuff that went on. Ultimately, in that particular morning, I was pacing from one side of my office to the other one. I guess it was my competitive spirit. And I just stopped and I said, no way, man. I'm going to beat the odds and be the very first person in my family that beats this cancer thing, this monster. And I went on my journey. And after 10 years and 10 surgeries, including 4 brain surgeries, because I had 8 tumors in my brain of melanoma, I beat the odds and conquer a stage 4 melanoma with metastasis in the brain. But the important thing that I want to share with you and your audience is that on year 8, I was broke, frustrated, kind of like, just saying fearless, that I was going to spend my life in this loop: surgery, treatment, remission, recurrence, surgery, treatment, remission, recurrence. So I had my first leap of faith, and I said, that's it. They gave me, after my first craniotomy, which was from ear to ear, they gave me this new, quote unquote, chemo that would penetrate the brain. And they gave it to me in capsules. 8 years into this, the cost of healthcare. I was broke. And they gave me these capsules that were $1,000 each capsule.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I had to take one every day, Monday to Friday, rest Saturday and Sunday, and then start again. On my second Monday, in other words, my 6th capsule, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Nobody told me on potential reactions or whatever. And that caused an anxiety attack at the same time. My heart was pumping like it was going to explode. Nobody at home, the kids in school, my wife working. I am a piano player. I did some conservatory work with that. And I tried to play the piano, but it didn't work. I was sweating. So I actually lay down on the family room's couch and breathed my way to calm down. And when my wife came home, she said, what's going on? What's wrong? And I said, look, I'm not taking one of those pills anymore. She goes, no, you gotta keep going. Look, do me a favor. I already called Sophie, my sister. She's gonna pick up the kids. Take me to church. I want to go to the chapel. This was on a Thursday, I think. And she took me to church. I went to the chapel. And I went to the altar and kneeled there, and I cried my butt off, and I don't know for how long, but I surrendered. At that moment, I surrendered, Killian, and And my prayer was, Lord, give me a chance to see my kids grow up to go to high school. Graduate from high school, and my daughter to go into high school and to be a better Christian, a better father and husband. Give me the chance. And then I also said, look, you better than anyone knows that this stuff is not working for me. I don't know everybody else, but it's not working for me, and I'm tired. I cannot live my life like this. It's a poor quality of life. So at that moment, asking for discernment, I made a decision that I was going to stop 100% conventional treatments. And I was going to go what I call God's pharmacy, or Mother Earth pharmacy. And I told my wife on the way back to the house, and she, being in the medical world, she was thinking I was crazy.
Right.
Hey, probably all the sewing and the hammering in your brain, you're not right. And I said, no, I am right. And I know myself. Like you said before, we tend to lose our power, our inner self, our intuition, to the noise, to people telling you, no, don't listen to yourself, listen to your teacher or the priest or your dad, your uncle. And we give that away, including when we go to an oncologist. And so, and I'm not having anything against that. Good if people can afford going to oncology. But anyway, I went natural. I decided to go natural, jump into the holistic health journey to heal myself. And this July 12th, next week, it'll be my 13th year free of cancer. So because of that, right as I was really seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, I decided, you know what, I'm basically starting my CTO career again. I think, and I don't have really enough money, but I had like faith, like you mentioned the mountain before, and I always understood what Jesus meant, the famous biblical verse of the seed, the mustard seed. If you have faith as little as a mustard seed, you will tell this mountain, move from here to there, and it would move. And guess what? All of us have mountains to move throughout our lives. It doesn't have to be a chronic disease or cancer or anything like that. Anything, divorce, I don't know, a loss of a very dear person, somebody takes advantage of you and robs on a business deal, like it happened to me at one point. It's part of growing, like you said. And one of the things, though, when I look back, and I actually spend a little time on the book, is that really had to take a 10-year battle with cancer, and that to actually realize that my purpose wasn't to help companies be more productive through software and stuff. It was to help others. Like I was born with that particular talent. But the important thing with the tennis, real quick, is that when I went the holistic route, and this is what I do today, I'm a cancer coach for using holistic health manners, is that my visualization, what is holistic, by the way? Holistic health, many people ask me, is when you treat the persons as a whole, their mind, their emotions, their body, and their spirituality. That's holistic health. Right, versus just going to the symptom and throwing the kitchen sink to the symptom, which is really what we get with oncologists. I attended a meeting today with an amazing oncologist from New York, and I wish all the doctors were like her. She's a new generation type of functional medicine type of person, but it was great to see how now they're actually preparing some doctors with some more ammunition in nutrition and psychology and all the modalities that holistic health provides, massage, energy work, all that stuff, right, which I became. I became all those things. I'll tell you later on, you'll see it in the book. And the last thing I did to add value for my clients is I became a hypnotherapist, which is really working on false beliefs that we have built since we were youngsters. And one thing that is very important for the audience to know, all disease all diseases, no matter what disease, are emotional. And they all start on inflamed bodies, bodies that are acidic. Acid that we create ourselves through stress, eating in a hurry, eating the wrong things, and many other things. It's just, we could spend hours on this, but believe me, in my case, I worked. You have to be humble, by the way. At that point, somebody that was self-centered with the tennis and all that, when I went to that chapel, I really surrendered. And I said, I can't control this, man. I just, and you blessed me with 5 kids. I felt like Job in the Bible. I said, what, me? What's going on?
Right. I get it.
So by the way, real quick, so I started working on my emotional clutter. And I, with a humbleness spirit, I went to those who hurt me through my life. And guess what? None of them remembered. And I was carrying all this venom on me for years. And but in any case, they apologized, and I felt like a piano when lifted off my shoulders. But I went further. I went and looked for people that I thought I hurt, and some that I was sure I hurt. A couple of girls and emotionally, But in any case, I hurt them, and so I went, and they didn't remember except one. And obviously they forgave me. That was another grand piano off my shoulder. And then the third one, and the hardest one, was forgiving myself. But I worked on all that clutter as well. And I have to share with you guys, and after that happened, I never had another recurrence. No more recurrence. That was the root cause of my disease, emotional. And I had not a very acidic body because I was a nutritionist. I did a minor in nutrition back in the day in school to have an edge in my competition. So it wasn't new to me, but the emotional stuff. And then I used my visualizations, all the stuff that I learned as a youngster to be a better player, seeing myself winning. I was seeing myself. I would imagine this divine light coming through my head and just melting all the tumors around my body 2 or 3 times a day after a prayer. And then I would see this, my favorite colors, 2 colors, is light blue and light pink, like the Jesus of mercy. And so I would do that, and on occasions, once a day, I would imagine the Pac-Man game, the creature of the Pac-Man game going all around my body.
Right, going in there and eating the tumors.
Eating all the tumors, yeah.
Right. I want to ask you some questions. Thank you for sharing all that story, and it's wonderful. And, you said, I'll tell this real quick. It's not about real quick. You've said some profound and powerful things. And what I learned, and I really want the audience to learn, is it's not about not using traditional medicine. It's not about not having not about that at all. But what it is about is learning that there are much more powerful things at work here. Carrying the poison of anger towards others is corrosive.
Absolutely.
Carrying the poison of not forgiving yourself for mistakes. And yes, you got to try to fix them. But after that, even still, and carrying that poison literally poisons your spirit and trashes your body.
Yep.
And so your choice, and I've got the book here, Beating the Odds, My Journey Through Holistic Health to Overcome Advanced Cancer. And I would encourage you to go take a look at that, whether you've got cancer or not, because what he said, and I know this is true, disease comes from our own being ill at ease, our own emotional state, our own out of balance thinking, and all the rest. And doctors say all the time, if they're sick, someone's sick in the hospital, the single biggest determinant about whether or not they get better is how bad they want to.
Yes.
And so that want to, if it does that much, makes the difference between life and death and recovery and not recovering.
Amen.
Over and over again in the sickest of cases. Then there is truth to this energetic body and inflammation and whatever language we use. And you can call it gobbledygook if you want. But the truth is your neurotransmitters, your attitude, the way you speak, the way you talk, all that stuff makes a huge difference. And Georges here is a miraculous testament and evidence to that effect. So thank you for sharing that story. And now being 13 years, I think you said cancer-free.
Absolutely.
What a blessing. After 8 years of aggressive treatment and recurrence?
8 years of treatment and 10 years because I still had two more surgeries there. Two more.
Oh, okay. So 10 years of work and 13 years free. So you're over the hump. You're more years free than you had to fight. So what a blessing.
And I need to share this. Two of my 8 brain tumors were not operable. They were too big for gamma knife. I had 2 gamma knives on top of the 4 craniotomies, but those 2 were too big for gamma knives, and they were not operable. And they were in my back lobe, and said, well, we're just gonna have to watch them. And I have to say, I'm not going to say that much so you can read it in the book, but that's a miracle. And that's because of faith, because of prayer, going to prayer groups, and opening myself to receive, which is harder than giving. And that's something else that I explain in the book.
I want you to know, Georges, that I totally agree with you. Our intentions, our expressions to the divine, our willingness to surrender. Surrender is not abdication and it's not giving up. Surrender simply means you realize that at the end of the day, you don't know anything. And to be willing to take action in the absence of knowledge and simply to trust that there is a way while you seek, whether it's spiritual guidance or whether it's medical guidance, but coming instead of with an attitude of I'm screwed, with an attitude of there's got to be a way. And I believe this. And to move in that moment of surrender, I just empathize with that so much. So thank you. Yes, you are a miracle. Yes, it is because of your belief. Yes, it is because of your relationship with the divine and your willingness to trust. And your mission right now with the book and work that you do with clients is to help them, whether it's cancer or not, to understand that they create, each of us creates our reality. So why not create a beautiful circumstance, a pleasant meadow, a wonderful life, even if there's bumps in the road? I love that. So tell us where to find out about more about you, your book, Beating the Odds, My Journey Through Holistic Health to Overcome Advanced Cancer. I found it really easily. I didn't look it up ahead of time. You said Beating the Odds. I went, and there it was on my screen. So very good. I see you. Go ahead.
I shared my email, so you can share it with the audience. And I'm going to send you a couple of links. I'll have a giveaway for the audience or for you, an ebook that I wrote based on my experience with a naturopath when I decided to go natural. And the title of this ebook, I always give it as a giveaway, is A Balanced pH and Your Health. If you manage to have a balanced pH, disease will not grow on you. I mean, you won't even get a cold. And if you have a disease and you managed your way back to a balanced pH, not an acidic body, you're destroying the environment that your disease strives to live in. No matter what chronic disease, it's all acidity that they look for. So in that little book, you have some juicing information. And what I do with my clients, I teach them how to order in a restaurant a balanced pH plate. In this ebook, I have a table that will tell you which foods are acidic and which foods are alkaline. So you can actually play with that, and you help yourself. You help the doctor, eliminate the environment in a natural way, eliminating the environment that these cells, whatever the disease is, they strive to live. I did that, and that worked a lot for me. So if you again look at it as a whole, I have this metaphor of a 4-legged table. One of the legs is your physical self. The other one is your emotional self. The third one is your mindset, your mindset. And then the fourth one is your soul, your spirituality. And not necessarily, I'm not saying it's religion. You know, you could be religious and not spiritual. You could be spiritual and not religious, or you could be both. Like in my case, I grew up as a Christian in the Catholic Church. My family from the Greek side were Orthodox. But, you know, the important thing there is one God, and then the messages that you get. My best coach is Jesus as a man. I'm not embarrassed to say that, because that was a key component in my healing. But it's the four legs of the table.
SPEM, spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. I love it. And I use that same acronym. So I use the spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. SPEM is the acronym I use. I teach people how to use a morning routine and all that. So the email is coach.georges, Georges, at qualitiva, QUALETIVA.com.
Yeah.
Coach.georges at qualitiva.com.
Yeah.
We'll publish that also, but please go there.
Yeah.
Georges, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll send you the link for the giveaway.
Thank you. I want to really thank you. You've given us a beautiful story. You've shared your heart with us and taught us why choosing to listen to our natures, to love and serve, is so important. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for having me in the show. I really appreciate this.
You are welcome. Listeners, my friends, my followers, I want you to listen. I bring on guests for a reason, and every one of them has a story about how to create the life they want. You have that ability. You don't have to be magic. You don't have to be lucky. You have to decide, and you have to be willing to do the work, because nobody falls up the mountain. And if you're willing to go find what you need, follow George, read the book, and see how you can move forward to create your ultimate life.
Never hold back, and you'll never ask why. Open your heart, and this time around,
Right here, right now, your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to kellanflukigermedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, yourultimatelife.ca. Subscribe, share.
stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on the ground.